Hello riders! Today I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to buy your next horse. The first thing we want to think about is your goals and your experience. Those are super important things to think about to be able to choose a horse. First, you're gonna think about your goals. What do you want that horse for? Are you going to the competitions? Are you going to do dressage, jumping, trail riding, vaulting? What are you going to do with that horse? What do you want to do with that horse? That's gonna change massively the kind of horse you want. If you're looking for something for dressage, you're gonna look for the movements, the quality. If you're going to look for a horse for trail riding, you're going to look for endurance, health. It's different. So that's the first thing you want to think about. And then the experience. What's your experience? Are you an experienced rider? Are you not? And that's going to change what you choose. Super important. If you're inexperienced, don't choose a green horse because that's a really bad match. I did that, and because I didn't know more, I didn't know better, so I just did it, and it was a mistake because I just suffered a lot because I had a green horse, I wasn't experienced, and I just was thinking about not falling off the horse when I was riding him. So be conscious about that. After that, you want to look for the size of the horse, height and weight. For height, I would recommend to find a range you're moving between. You can be flexible with that because a centimeter won't change, but just have like a range to know what you're looking for. And then weight is the most important one. A horse shouldn't carry more than 20% of his own weight with the rider's weight and the tack weight, like the total weight. And you shouldn't go over that. So super important, think about it, because if you go over that, you can injure the horse, you can hurt him, he can be uncomfortable. So think about it. And if you're going for a green or unexperienced horse, you should lower that to probably a 10-15% to be able to ride the horse without hurting him. So think about it. After that, you will also want to think, a super important one for me is personality. Think about the temperament you want and find something that can suit your goals that you set before. So for temperament, I would recommend, specifically for dressage, to find something that's reactive, because you don't want to work with a lazy horse that doesn't want to work, but something that's not spooky, because I think you'll be going to competitions, shows, and you'll have flowers, judges' houses, umbrellas, birds, I don't know, all of those super scary things for a horse. So you should think to get a horse that isn't super spooky with that kind of stuff, because it will make things much more easier. So that's a super important one for me, also based on the experience I just told you, because he was super spooky and we couldn't go out. We went out, we did lots of competitions, but it was always like, don't get scared, you know? So if you can, find something that's not spooky. Then, once you have all of that, you should also think about the breed based on the things we said before. So are you going for a certain breed? Are you open with breed? I'm usually leaning towards one kind of breed, but then I'm also open to other ones if the horse suits everything. Another story is when I bought Da Vinci, I was looking for more like an Oldenburg, Hanoverian, more like sport horse, and I ended up with Da Vinci, that's a PRE, but he suited everything else, so I just bought him anyways. Because another point is budget. If you don't have a massive budget, you'll have to be flexible with lots of things. You can decide what you're not flexible with. For example, when I was looking for Leroy, I was not flexible with temperament. I was certain I wanted a young horse, but I wanted a horse that's still young, they have their things, they're green, but that was easy to work with, even though he was young. You'll always know that you're working with a young horse, and he'll have some stuff, but in between that, something in like the chill side of it. So think about budget, and think about a budget that's realistic with your like goals, because you won't be able to have a Grand Prix horse in 20,000 euros. Or you can find it, but he will be injured, he will have problems. So you have to be realistic with your budget and think what you can get with that. Once you have all of that, I would say you can start looking. I would say there's 3 main sources for looking for horses. The first one being internet, websites, for example, eHorse. I think it's a very international one. You can find horses everywhere. But here in Spain, we have specific Spanish ones, and I think there's multiple in other countries, so look for that. Then the second one, I would say, is contacts. I found Leroy through my trainer. She knew, she's a very well-known rider, but I didn't ask her. And she had a horse and is friends with my trainer, so she just sent it to me, and I ended up buying it. So it could be your trainer, it could be barn colleagues, friends, that you know that might know horses for sale. And then at last, I would say agents. And that's a useful tool if you don't want to invest time on researching and looking for horses and talking to people, and you can just book an agent and they will do all of that for you. They will charge, though, usually a 10% of the horse's price, so they get that commission. So think about it, because you have to add that to the budget. But it's a good option. They show you lots of horses. You just go crazy with it because you don't remember any. That brings us to the next point. Always write down everything, film everything when you're seeing horses, so you remember. I used to go with my phone notes, and I wrote down everything that I'll tell you after. I'll tell you about the questions. I wrote down all of the answers, and then I filmed everything so I could watch it at home after and think about it and watch everything in detail, so I don't have to remember everything when I'm seeing the horses. So I'm just feeling the horse and feeling things, and then I will see the technique at home. And that brings us to the next point. That's questions. I would recommend, that's very useful. I found it on the internet and I started doing it. That's preparing questions before going to see the horse. I had a list of questions for what I was looking for, and that will change depending on what you're looking for. I'm going to read for you the questions that I had when I was looking for Leroy, so you have a brief idea of what those questions are. And be very cautious with the answers. So I'm going to read them for you. I used to ask, why are you selling the horse? What's the horse's medical history? And do they have any special requirements? Have they had any injuries? All the medical history. Even though you'll have a vet check, it's good to know first, because if they have something big that you don't wanna have, you can already say no to that horse before the vet check, so you don't waste money. And then, related to the training, what have they done today? That's super important, because there's owners that launch the horses, they work the horses before you go, so they are more calm, so they are tired, so they are supple. It depends. So ask about that. They probably won't tell you if they're that kind of person, but they might, so just ask about it. And then ask about the routine. Which is the routine of the horse? Does it need lounging? That's something I used to ask for young horses, because lots of them need it before riding. For example, with Leroy, they told me on Sunday is his rest day, then Monday is lunging, and Tuesday is lunging and riding. And then the rest of the week, we don't lunge him. So that's good to know, because at last you'll need to train the horse, and you must know what has he done before, so you can adapt. And then, does he go out on the field? Does he go out with other horses? Is he always in a box? Which kind of routine does he have? That's super good to know for you. And then, relationship with other horses. I also was looking for some stallions. So I asked about mares, how did they behave, were they good? And then, another important one is quirks and vices. Another story. This is the stories video. I bought a horse, the Vinci, the Piari, and we didn't check, we didn't ask, that's our mistake. But when the horse got home, he used to bite a lot, because he was young and he was a stallion. So we couldn't get rid of that. He just kept doing it, we tried everything and we couldn't. And that's a bit annoying. He didn't do it to hurt you, but he was playing, and sometimes he hurt you. He just it's a horse biting you, so even though they're playing, it's a bit annoying. So just ask about that kind of stuff. Do they have like any vices and quirks? And then, is it used to go on trail rides? Do you go to the forest? Do you go, I don't know, just ask about the horse in general. And then, once you have all of that, it's the moment to go and test the horse. The big moment. That's super fun. I love testing horses. Tips for testing horses. I would recommend you always bring your trainer or someone more experienced if you're inexperienced. And even though you're not inexperienced, it's always good to have a second opinion. So try to bring someone if you can. And if not, you have the videos that I told before to send to those people so they can have an opinion about the horse. So, super, super important, from another like bad story that I'll tell you now. Always have the owners or the riders test the horse before you ride them. The story is, I saw a horse, he was a black Oldenburg, trained. He was the perfect horse, the dream horse, but he was cheap. Like, he was in my budget, and I didn't find those horses in my budget. So I was like, this is weird. When you find a horse that doesn't have matching price and quality, doubt about it. It can be because they just need to sell it fast, but it's usually because they have something a bit suspicious in there. So I went there, I saw the horse, he was beautiful. And the moment of riding came. And they were like, get on the horse, you can get on like directly. We worked the horse yesterday, so you can get on him. And I was like, no, just get on him and then I'll ride him after. And they were like, no, you can ride him. I was like, that's suspicious. They're telling me to ride the horse when the usual thing is that they ride him first. And they kept insisting when I said no. So I was like, there's no way I'm getting on that horse. That's super suspicious. So I made them ride the horse. If you don't want to ride the horse, I'm not getting on the horse. I'm not like risking my safety. So they got on a horse. The trainer got on a horse. The horse was big. And the guy who rode him was a big guy. And he was strong. But the horse, when he got on him, started running. Each corner, he would start to run away. But he couldn't stop him. The guy couldn't stop the horse. And he was his usual rider. And he was a big guy. Like, he was, I'm not small, but he was much bigger than me. And he couldn't stop him. And I was like, well, that's why they wanted me to ride him. Because they didn't want him to see that. And they told me, it's just today. That's a very usual thing as well. Be careful with that. It's just today. And you think, oh, well, it's fine. No, then tell them, okay, I'm coming back another day and I'm gonna see the horse again. Let's see if it's better. You can just go back another day if you're super interested in the horse. But I'm super thankful I didn't get on that horse because that would have been really risky. And once you're done with that, decision making and vet check. Vet check, I would say, is super important as well. Do it. It's like you're spending thousands of euros in a horse, or dollars, or whatever coin you're using, but you're spending lots of money. Just do it, you know? You can do, I don't know if there's a name in English, but here in Spain it's like the clinical examination, the outside of the horse, the walking, the freedom running, the betsies, all of that. And then there's the X-rays. You can choose only doing the clinical one or doing X-rays as well. If you're going for a competition horse, I would say do X-rays because they have some stuff that you won't be able to see just looking. And then for vet check, I will also say, if you start doing a vet check on a person, like if you start doing X-rays to anyone, everyone will have some stuff. Everyone has something. With horses, it's the same. You very rarely will find a horse that doesn't have anything at all. They also have some stuff. But you have to decide if it's something that won't affect you, because there's some people that there's a silly thing and they just go like, no, I don't want that horse. They'll always have something. So think if that affects you. If it affects you, or you can work around it, if you can manage that, or if it's something that you won't be able to work with. And then decide on that range. But don't just be like, no, it has something. Just think what it has and how does it affect what you want to do with horse. So always tell the vet what you want to do with horse. And also for vets, I would say bring your own vet. Don't use their vet, because I've seen cases in Spain and in Germany as well where vets just swap X-rays, or not like that, but they just have some agreements with the owners and they just say something is less important than it really is and stuff like that. So be careful with that. I would say bring your own bed and be there so they can explain you everything. And at last, for decision making, just take your time. Don't let the owners pressure you, because they obviously want to sell the horse and want to sell it fast. And if they see you're interested, they'll be asking and pressuring. And they'll sometimes say, I have other people interested, they made me an offer. Just don't let them pressure with that. Think about it, watch the videos, and take your days, your time, the time you need. Don't take 6 months because the course will be sold, but take the time you need to make a decision and be sure about it, because it's lots of money. And that's everything. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!